Greetings, everyone. This is Hong Long from Hong Long Wuxia. And today we are going to talk again about the genocide that is going on in Gaza. Earlier this week, on Sunday, around 200 demonstrators took part in a rally to stop the genocide in Palestine in front of the George D. Lloyd Courthouse in downtown Las Vegas. At the outset of the rally, organizers passed out copies of a short biography of Dr. Rafet al-Arir, who was assassinated along with most of his family last week in a targeted airstrike carried out by the Israeli Defense Forces. The biography that was passed out also contained a copy of his last poem, If I Must Die, which was also read out aloud at the rally, with the words, "No, we will not fail, we will go and tell your tale," incorporated into a chant. A moment of silence was also held in Dr. al-Arir's honor before the demonstrators began marching. Dr. al-Arir was a teacher, writer, and an activist. His Twitter X page, Rafat in Gaza, had been regularly posting updates on the occupation and ongoing genocide, which is why he was targeted, as over 50 Palestinian journalists have been killed since the beginning of the ethnic cleansing operation began on October 7th. Marchers went from the courthouse to the Fremont Street Experience and back. As marchers marched through the Neon Park, supporters of the Democrats and Republicans made an appearance in order to put their entire intellectual acumen on display with their sublime and erudite discourse. At the end of the march, Las Vegas Metro took a 12-year-old boy and his mother into custody, claiming that they were attempting to break into parked cars by checking to see if the doors were open. Although, as protesters pointed out, there were no cars parked along the march. There was no parking available and no parking allowed. Demonstrators then gathered around the courthouse where the two were taken into custody, chanting, release them now, for 15 minutes, and finally, organizers say the two were released. And while last week the president of the University of Pennsylvania was forced to resign in response to the McCarthyite hearings held last week, in which actual fascistic and racist legislators continued to scream incoherently that all opposition to the right-wing religious nationalist ideology of Zionism was anti-Semitic, which is akin to labeling that all criticism of the Klan bearers of another right-wing religious nationalist ideology as a criticism of Americans as a whole. Professors at UCLA recently signed an open letter opposing the, quote, concerted and coordinated assault on academic freedom and free speech that is unfolding on a national scale and that is targeted in particular against institutions of higher education. Such is the scale of this assault that a coalition of special rapporteurs at the United Nations recently expressed their concern at the extent to which calls for an end to the violence and attacks in Gaza, or for humanitarian ceasefire, or criticism of Israeli government's policies and actions have in so many contexts been misleadingly equated with support for terrorism or anti-Semitism. This, they added, stifles free expression, including artistic expression, and creates an atmosphere of fear to participate in public life. Students and faculty across the country are experiencing dangerous levels of harassment and suppression of their right to free speech, and those who advocate for even the most basic rights for Palestinians have faced doxing, death threats, deplatforming, censorship, and violent intimidation. This assault on academic freedom threatens to disrupt the core mission of education, research, and teaching that is at the heart of university life, end quote. They follow up with a list of demands for the university to guarantee academic freedom. That call, however, will most likely fall on deaf ears, as most of the university's administration belongs to the same party as Genocide Joe, who just the other day admitted that Israel is engaging in indiscriminate bombing while not stopping one bullet from going to the IDF. The only way to ensure academic freedoms is through a turn to the working class, not just everyone working at the university, but the students, their parents, and workers in the broader community. And this needs to be done not only in LA, but around the country and the world as part of the movement to stop the genocide in Gaza.